IVM.
If you like IVM likes, you should definitely check out another show from the IVM Network called Geek Fruit. It's a show where three geeks, Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar, talk about everything science fiction, adventure, fantasy, movies, TV shows, everything. So quench your thirst for geek conversation every week. Episodes out every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, the IVM website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I've grown out of him now.
Guys,
Hi, okay. Yeah, there are other people also in this.
do you realize this is not an episode of GAYBCD but
we
IVM
didn't.
Live?
Oh my God.
We don't realize.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we never realized. Because an episode of GAYBCD is basically us talking, so just chit-chatting.
Yeah. What are y'all doing? Why are y'all wearing...
So that is an introduction for you guys. Today we have a very special appearance by two people on IVM Likes. That's Farhad and Sunetro, who also host another show on IVM podcast called GAYBCD.
Also the two most good-looking people ever to brace IVM
And I
likes.
second that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right then.
Nah, it's a thunder intro. Cold open.
So welcome to IVM Likes.
Hi.
In the first half, we are going to go with the round of recommendation where we
right.
recommend anything.
Anything, right?
Yes, anything related to pop
TV,
culture.
books,
anything.
like, music,
Podcasts, anything.
Yeah.
Okay then.
And in the second half, we are going to talk about queer art and how did we get introduced to it. And maybe you
And
would
art
have
or like pop culture in general?
pop culture,
Anything.
art, everything again. It covers
Amazing.
but the whole understanding of what is queer to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you've forgotten
ready,
to
baby.
introduce me, Madhuri.
Yeah, hi Rutika, we have Rutika. Okay, with me, I have of course Farhad, Sunetro, Rutika and me, Madhuri.
Yeah.
So let's begin with the first
Is
half.
everybody present?
Hey.
Okay, Farhad, let's begin with you. What do you have to recommend?
Oh my God. Okay. I've been reading a lot. So now I've realized usually I don't know if other people do this. How do you consume stuff, right? Because I have a month where I'll just binge watch things, but I won't read and I won't listen to too much music. But then suddenly I will have
Same
a
here.
month where I just find fuck tons of music.
I do need to read a little every day though. Like
Okay.
I can't.
Yeah,
like,
even
not.
I am like
I
little
do
nugget.
that. I also
Yeah.
read something.
I
every
think
day.
before sleeping, it's like my
But
pre-sleep.
is
sleep.
everyone here who's like a gadget reader and who's a
I'm a
Book
gadget
reader.
reader.
Book reader.
paper reader? Oh my God, I
Yeah,
cannot.
can you all just shut the
I mean, I know.
Please,
Like-
I know this is already going
Yeah.
to the smell of the
Smell of the
book.
book, smell the touch of the yes, I
And
know.
I'm like, shut the up because I'll tell you what, I am pro reading. I don't care where you read.
Yeah, I'm not against.
No. Because the thing is, the moment I tell people I read on a Kindle, but
that's
don't you
not
think a
real.
book is a better option? And I'm like, no, I'll tell you why what happens, right? When I was in college, I genuinely believe, I was a voracious reader all my life. Right now I'm wearing contact lenses, but my number is -6. And I can guarantee -4 both eyes is actually because of reading, growing up.
Same
And
here.
then education happens and education ruins reading
Yeah.
for everybody because suddenly you have to read and you have to study. So people fall out of the habit of reading. And then once I started growing up, and especially with bipolar and stuff, it's one of the symptoms, like even depression, when you have like ADHD and stuff, reading is very difficult. And I just couldn't read. I became one of those people, if I saw someone with a book, I would feel jealous of them. Like if I'm at a train station or I saw anyone with a book, I would be like, F you, motherfucker, who do you think you are? But then I got a Kindle 2 years ago. A friend gifted me a Kindle and my life changed. I literally have to say, it's been 2 years. What are you saying?
Guys, this is not a before-after ad. Just letting you know.
No, but I'll tell you why I still love the touch of books is because I love being around books. Like, I'm a very home proud person. Like, my space is very, very important to me. For me, the feel of a rack full of books and this whole experience of coming back home, post-dinner, just like picking one book out. And I do all kinds of books, except for like non-fiction. I'm not into non-fiction. But I do coffee table books on fashion. I do like fiction. I do a lot. So the feeling of picking something out and from like this library that I have at home is so beautifully comforting to me.
I just find the comfort in like having 4,000 books in my pocket at any given point.
I think I'm tired of.
And it adds color to my room. Like, you know, it's also aesthetic to me. So
for me,
yeah.
I genuinely, because so many, this is a conversation I run into so many times, online, offline. Oh, no, books are better. Books
No,
are,
it's not
like
that.
the dog versus cat
Yeah,
conversation.
no, not that conversation, but I think I'm tired of screens. Even if the Kindle is not a similar
that's the
screen,
thing.
I
That's
agree.
the thing.
But I've tried using Kindle, but I still
It
look
just
at it as a
doesn't-
screen.
I think the
swear.
beauty of this whole, like, all four of us coming together is that all four of us have very different ways of reading. Because I know your way of reading, Madhuri, I'm going to say it.
Which is
I
what?
am going
What's
to-
Madhuri's way of reading?
That I read when I'm traveling also. Do you
Yeah.
mean that?
Yeah.
So every
Okay.
time I walk in the office,
Okay.
there's a book on me.
Yeah, she's usually with a book. Like Madhuri is, I mean, you can maybe on a deserted island, if you leave Madhuri, you'll have to leave her with a book.
Oh, no.
I think that's the kind of attachment she has towards a physical book. On the other hand, taking from what you said, I'm a proponent of libraries. Okay, and
Totally.
yeah, so for me, even if it's a date, I would schedule it in a bookstore or a library.
That's
Amare
so
Bapre.
beautiful. Like, I date you.
And then what?
Totally.
I think that's just the background. What? We all
Let's
sit
meet
and
after this
read.
podcast.
Oh my god, yeah.
No, yeah. I just felt like okay, and also like I have a limited edition Kindle, just showing off a little. I have an Oasis. Do you know what an Oasis
No.
is?
No.
A Kindle Oasis. So it has these things called X-ray, and also I'll give you an example. My entire life, for some odd reason, have you all seen the movie The End of the Tour? The End of the Road.
Yeah,
End of the Tour. End of the Tour. Jason
Okay.
Segel
Yeah.
and Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
I saw that movie and it was about the author of Infinite
Yeah.
Jest,
Okay.
David Foster Wallace.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love that movie so much. And the thing is, we had Infinite Jest in college as a part of our syllabus, and I just couldn't understand that book. But years later now, I have a Kindle, and I can literally, because there are so many references in Infinite Jest, I literally could just put my finger on any part that I wasn't understanding. Wikipedia pops up, dictionary.
Ah.
You know what I
That's-
mean?
that's
And for
nice,
the first time,
yeah.
I breezed
Yeah,
through
true.
the book. I literally like waltz through the book. And I felt like this is amazing. And I'm not kidding. It's been around 2 years that I've had a Kindle, and I think I've read around 37 to 50 easily books in the past 2 years, which is 50 more than what I did 12 years of 15 years before
Yeah.
that.
So
So,
I-
yay Kindle.
I think we are recommending Kindle on the first half.
No, so what do I say?
My Kindle.
Do you
That
have-
was Farhad's first recommendation.
See, I was going to quickly recommend a book though.
Farhad, you just lost your chance.
Damn,
You just lost
right,
it.
damn.
No, go on. Tell us which book are you recommending.
So this was a month of reading. I read a lot of books. I'm big time. I have sudden sci-fi cravings, so I read a lot of sci-fi. But I also read a non-sci-fi. It's a book by Johann Hari. I don't know, a lot of people don't know about him. He wrote this book called Chasing the Scream years ago. He's entirely changed the way people look at drugs, and basically he's an investigative journalist. So he takes a certain topic and he tries to tell you how everything you've been told about that thing is wrong. So his previous book was Chasing the Scream, which was about the war on drugs and how we've got drugs entirely wrong. But his new book called Lost Connections is entirely about how we've got depression and anxiety wrong. And it was
Wow.
shocking, like reading that book, because I've been in therapy for like 10 years now, and as much as I love my shrink, and I guarantee you I couldn't have made it through life had I not been in therapy, but he literally debunks everything that therapists tell you, that what medicines are supposed to do, and his answers are not like, oh, you should exercise better and sleep better. He tells you the science of depression, like everything we know about it is actually entirely wrong. And I just constantly found myself like being blown away, or like like, what do I say, challenged in. I had a certain idea, like for example, I was told my entire life that all these things that I'm feeling are a chemical imbalance, and I guarantee 70% of the book is just telling you about how that is the biggest lie peddled to you. It's not a lie, it's not a sensational book that's trying to tell you like, oh no, you've got it wrong. But it's beautiful the way he talks about how actually it's a part of you, which is basically the ending of Pixar's Inside Out also. Which is like, hey, it's there, don't fight it, it's a part of everything you're supposed to feel and all, but the way it's done in this book, it was absolutely stunning. Lost Connections, Johann Hari. That's my recommendation.
Nice.
Great.
And I think the most amazing part is that I am glad that I wrote this down. I'm glad that you recommended it because one of the podcasts that I was listening to about health today, the guest was talking about how, whenever now people go to doctors, they've stopped asking why doctors recommend certain medicines or why a certain situation is happening. We're not getting into the why or the reason.
Time kisko hai? That's the thing. Like we're just like, I'm paying this person
How is this
for a
gonna help me?
solution.
Yeah.
I guess
give
it's
me the
because
solution.
like everything in life, whether you see dating nowadays or everything that is important to us, even that we've made temporary.
Yeah.
For me, especially, again, reading this book, I realize a lot of it is about, because here's the deal, right? This is how it works. I get a bipolar episode, like it can last from a week to 3 months to a year sometimes. And then I'll go back on my medication and I'm fine again. And I'm like, oof, glad I dodged that. But again, after 2 years, I start feeling these things and I'm back in the same place. I take medication. I'm fine. Then I go back and I go back and I felt like there has to be a bigger answer than me just... But I also feel like I'm pro therapy medicines, if that's whatever the drugs are called, because I can understand being in the thick of depression or being in the... whether you're suicidal, whether it's anxiety. I know when you're in it, when you're in the cloud of it, how difficult it is to look beyond it. So sometimes medicines give you that little... Just, put your head up. It's not even a pickup. It's just put your head out of the clouds. And that's the thing, what you said earlier about people don't question anymore. Because here's the deal. I know nowadays, whatever your problem is, there is a medicine for it. And I'm talking about mental problems. Today, if I lack motivational, I have modafinil. I literally wake up every morning like ready to do 5,000 things. If I just take it for a month, I'm suddenly charged up and geared, like whatever. So I just feel like, there's a medicine literally. So basically I see therapists as brain DJs. Like, oh, this is the mood you need. Here you go. Take this for a month and then don't complain. Don't come back to me. But
It's a great recommendation and a great understanding of how to look at things.
You're welcome. Pay me later.
Yeah, sure.
Therapy is expensive.
Okay.
Sponsored by Kindle.
Oh my. Yep.
Okay, coming to Rutika, what do you have to recommend?
Okay, so there is this movie that I watched very recently called Klaus. And it's an animated film. It's an adventure comedy.
Are you an animation freak or did you just chance upon...
So there is this amazing staffer in the IVM staff room
Let's call her name together.
Alika. Alika has changed my life.
Okay.
So she recommended Shira, the Princess of Power. Which is
my God.
She recommended...
It is mind-blowing.
I
she
don't know
recommended
Alika personally.
Agretsuko, have you seen?
Yes.
So we have been getting all those recommendations from her and we are just falling in more in
you
love with
guys
animation.
need, if you like Shira and if you like Klaus, you have to watch Studio Ghibli films.
We have watched it. We have had a discussion on that, and
Wow.
I'm going to
Miyazaki.
recommend it.
Can I tell
one
you?
of those
I
films.
was on my way here. I was going to wear a Princess Mononoke t-shirt.
I'm screening Princess Mononoke next week at my workplace.
I recently bought a t-shirt.
Oh
I
my
got a Totoro and a Mononoke
I love
t-shirt.
Totoro.
Yeah.
He is my favorite.
But my
Okay.
favorite by far is Mononoke because it talks about so many. Anyway, sorry. I'm just taking away spotlight from you. Yes.
No. There's
Klaus.
No. So Klaus is this postman who's extremely lazy, who has a father who's rich.
Spoiled kid. He's a
Spoiled kid.
Yeah.
He's sent to the north on a mission to at least post 6,000 letters. And it's a story about how there's this friendship that develops between him and this toy maker. And it's it's just a very beautiful story. It's an ode to friendship.
Yeah.
A friendship that is very unlikely between two very different people.
And I think that man is called Klaus.
Yeah,
and,
the man is called Klaus.
It's emotional after watching it.
I was emotional too. Yeah, I really.
Because I started it and I have to say, I kind of got up and my friend was watching it and we started it together, and 10 minutes in I kind of got where the movie was going.
I agree.
Also, I wasn't in the, but here's the deal. After my friend kept watching it, I went out to read a book. And when he was like, you should have stuck with it. It really gets amazing.
Yes, it gets amazing eventually.
Yeah.
That's my Saturday watch then.
Yeah,
Yes, when
and
toys come into the picture, you are going to stick.
not just that, it's visually stunning, and I think most of the the times I'm actually enjoying all these
The visuals.
recommendations that Alika's giving me for
I don't
Shira.
know Alika,
Yeah.
but I've seen her a couple of times in office, and I just knew that's an anime girl.
Yeah.
She's into anime. You just know sometimes if someone's into anime.
Yeah, crazy.
So that's
She's
one
a
movie.
Comic-Con girl.
Yeah, she is.
Comic-Con
Yeah,
girl.
yeah.
Oh my god, I'd love to talk Hayao Miyazaki with her. Like, he's the father of like
Studio
Ghibli.
Definitely
So-
after this
Oh my
recording,
God.
and you can come again on IVM Likes. We'll
Oh
have Alika.
yeah,
And
that'll be amazing.
This,
Yes.
we are going to have a GIF or a GIF conversation. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
It's
Ghibli.
Ghibli.
Oh,
Ghibli.
I always said
Ghibli.
Ghibli.
I've always
Ghibli.
heard Ghibli.
Yeah.
Okay.
Studio Ghibli.
Okay. Cool.
So my recommendation is Klaus.
Klaus.
And where can one find this movie?
You can find it on Netflix, and it's a must watch, I think.
Yeah. I also loved it.
It's a must watch, I think.
It's like
I'm terrible
Watch
at
it. Please watch it. You better watch it.
Because you
Fuckers.
recommended an animated film, so I'll go next because I also have an animated film to recommend. It's
Okay.
very old, not very old. It's 1988 film called Grave of the Fireflies.
oh my god.
Oh my god!
beautiful.
Did you cry?
I cried crazy.
Oh my god.
You wouldn't
it was
believe.
cathartic for me.
Shit, I was with a guy, okay? We are in this
In
mood.
1980?
No. So we were literally going to make out, but I
Arey, wo
watched
to gaya,
this
pura
film.
matlab,
I watched the
matlab-
film. I cried on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Half of the time I'm crying, and we knew that
Usme to
moment
no
is
erection
gone.
will happen after watching that film. Seriously.
But no, it was a beautiful.
It is a beautiful.
It's a stunning
I don't want to
film.
call it beautiful because it's painful. It's
painful,
very
yeah.
painful, but then also I want to call it beautiful.
Yeah,
Such
it's
a
one of those
powerful
films
narrative.
that affects you so hard that you can't watch it again.
Yes,
I have
I
not been
cannot.
able to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Every single moment from the film, including the last moment,
Yes.
is
Oh.
it's printed on my brain.
It's so funny
Yeah.
you say that. I saw it years ago. I loved it just as much. And what you just said, I felt it's a movie that stayed with me, but I never got around to watching it
I
again.
cannot bring
but
myself
I remember
to
it
watch it
just
again.
as like I watched it yesterday.
I'm
Yeah.
getting goosebumps right now. I swear to God.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I swear.
And the whole idea of calling it Grave of the Fireflies. Like
Was
the
that
matter.
also Studio Ghibli though?
That's Studio
Studio
Ghibli.
I don't
But
think
it's not Hayao Miyazaki.
It's not Hayao Miyazaki.
Someone else
Yeah.
is the creative
It's
director.
directed by Isao Takahata, if
Okay,
I'm pronouncing
okay.
it correct.
Alika would know.
You know what? I very sneakily just avoided reading the name of the director of Klaus because I was like, okay, I can't pronounce it. I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah, but I really had this cathartic night yesterday, and
That's
it was,
beautiful.
Oh,
I'm
you
so
saw it
glad,
yesterday for the
yes.
first
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay.
You know
Again,
what I
Alika
would
recommended
give?
it. Yeah.
I always I have this really stupid thing that I keep talking to my cineast friends. What I would give to watch a couple of movies for the first time again. Like the first time I watched
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. I was a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And the wonder and the bemusement and was something else. And I remember I was like, there were no tickets, so I had to sit on my mom's lap.
Uh-huh.
And there was just pure joy because I used to have dinosaur toys and I used to make like dinosaur zoos with my dinosaur toys, and I was a dinosaur obsessed kid. Watching that come alive on screen was magic for me. What I would give to be that 6-year-old again and watch it again.
Also, feel Jurassic Park never, even the ones that recently came out got kind of shitty ratings the last time, but I still enjoyed it.
I
still enjoyed it.
You know, the problem is because I studied film and now I'm into filming. Now I'm like, wo chroma dikh raha hai yaar, wo ye dikh raha hai yaar. Now it's ruined
It's over CGI.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Transformers is that formative movie that ruined CGI for everybody. I really feel it because they did it so much that now even sometimes when I'm in a movie, I just have no suspended belief when I'm watching CGI anymore. I'm like, that smoke looks so fake. And
Which is why I love grounded fantasy like Mad Max.
Sure.
The latest Mad Max. I don't love the previous Mad Maxes so much, but Fury Road, for example, was grounded.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love what Christopher Nolan's done with, like, did with the Batman franchise at that point of time. I love there's a lot of special effects, but there is a sense of
it's minimal. Minimal CGI.
Yeah, so do check this movie out, guys. It's this beautiful, the way the bond has been
I like you even
shown.
more. Oh my God.
Wow, I like that. Between brother and sister, it's such a cute bond.
Beautiful.
And how it can exist outside those social constructs and infrastructure because nobody was ready to take them in. So they just create their own world, and it's on malnutrition and people die. Someone dies at the end. I don't want to give away
but
the
here's
end.
the deal. Isn't there always, even the happy Studio Ghibli movies, don't they always have a dark under?
Always.
All of them.
If you look up, My Neighbor Totoro, it's actually about. Should I say it? It will suddenly take a grim turn. But it's based on actually a girl who was murdered in a village, and her sister, and how they found the shoe. Like, look it up. Just Google. My Neighbor Totoro murderers. Like, literally, you'll find these. He makes all these elaborate, like, movies for children / adults. Actually, they are based on very graphic, gruesome stories from, like, rural Japan, and, like, it's insane.
No, and I think, again, coming back to what you said about beauty, I think beauty is very evocative. It doesn't have to be limited to something that makes you feel good. Beauty is, it's not a term that you use when you feel good. It's just something that you feel. Feel. And you well up sometimes because it's so beautiful. So,
Yeah, totally.
We actually had a discussion on the children's special episode where we said that all these harsh realities of life, our authors knew how to make children more comfortable with an experience of death or crime by actually writing certain books or making certain movies.
And especially talking about it, not completely obliterating the whole topic that it doesn't exist.
So
I feel like Pixar also does that.
Pixar does that beautifully.
Except in Up.
I mean,
if you all tell me Up is an amazing movie, I'll fight you.
I have to recall it.
I don't think it's an amazing movie, but there is a beautiful message about aging and, like, all of that.
Life passing on.
But for me, WALL-E is like the pinnacle.
Absolutely. Can I tell you all something? The first time I ever smoked hash in my life, I went to watch WALL-E with a friend, and I thought it was the most. Of course, like the thing was for me then, it was WALL-E actually that good, or was the hash actually that good? Because I was blown away. Because especially when all the fat people, like, they are like just immobile but moving around in those hovering chairs. I was like, that's the future, and oh my God, like, there'll be a garbage full of planet, and like I literally was like, whoa, dude. But WALL-E was exceptional. For me, it was Inside Out, I have to say. Like,
for me, WALL-E and then Inside Out.
Because and the thing is, I'd not enjoy Inside Out, but I couldn't help but wish that I saw it as a child. I wish that Inside Out had come out as a child. I feel like I would have been way better at processing things in life if I had seen the message of Inside Out as a kid.
Yeah, I fucking broke down when I was watching Inside Out. So I love watching movies alone by myself. So I went to the theater and there was this couple on a date next to me. And especially towards the end when she sort of comes back and she breaks down, I broke down. And these two, I could see both of them being really uncomfortable. They probably thought that I've gone through some breakup and like, jaunga kahin pe, matlab, I don't know what this guy is going to do. So I could see them being so shifty because there's this lone guy who's like crying buckets. But the only time I ever went to watch a movie alone by myself was Village. Oh my God.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Are you a Village hater or lover?
Lover.
Oh my
Lover.
God, thank
But can
you.
I tell you something?
I love The Village.
I love The Village, but I happened to sit beside a couple, and because it was thoda full the theater and I was alone, so I couldn't move around, find another. But the whole movie, they were first all boo boo baby popcorn chap chap, they were going on. Okay, and can I tell you something? The funniest thing was like the movie's about to end, right? You know the ending where she's running around in the jungle, and the girlfriend goes tells the boyfriend, "Hey, wo andhi hai kya?" They were talking so much throughout the movie that they had no idea that the lead protagonist was blind. She's blind throughout the movie, and it dawned upon that girl like in the last 10 minutes of, "Hey, wo andhi hai kya?" And trust me, I rolled so hard. I thought my eyes would just like seize up there. Like it was so bad.
Speaking of Village, okay, so one of my biggest obsessions is film scores. So
my God.
I thrive on film scores. Like American Beauty to like Social Network to Lord of the Rings. Ari Aster, of course. Like all like Midsommar. But The Village has one of the most beautiful scores. It's if you've heard it, it's just a violin. It's completely based on violin, and it gives you goosebumps. If it doesn't give you goosebumps, you're not human.
I got something you'll love. Do you all watch Apple TV already?
No.
Okay, the Apple TV is out. Yeah, they have their own shows.
Okay.
And M. Night Shyamalan has a new show called Servant on it.
I haven't watched it.
3 episodes are out.
Are
and
you
the
serious?
first thing I loved about it's a great show. And probably people are calling it the best show to come out of Apple TV because
everything is
panned.
trash. Yeah.
I watched the morning show also. It's terrible.
Really?
But I watch it because it's so like glossy, terrible.
Morning show, Jennifer.
I'll watch it
Aniston.
because it's got Jennifer Aniston. I
Trust
love
me.
her.
Trust me. It's like, see, I love Claire Danes, right? But then I see Claire Danes in Homeland, and by the end of the first season, I'm like, if I have to see this woman cry once more, I will punch the shit out of her.
Cry.
So Jennifer Aniston has a lot of these moments where she's getting herself together.
Yeah.
And, morning show, but Servant is a must-watch.
I'm
only 3 episodes in.
It
is bizarre, and the first thing I loved about it is because I'm actually a fan of M. Night Shyamalan's scores too, movie scores, and Servant has a great score.
Even Lady in the Water has a great score.
Amazing. Yeah?
You know, guys, I understand this is a very different episode of
Should we shut up? This is Madhuri's about to ask us to shut up.
It's like,
I think
Down with the matriarch.
I think if you want to listen to the first half of the episode, keep a pen and a paper ready because there's a lot of
There's
recommendations.
so many recommendations. I don't think people are focused on our recommendations, Rutika. We should just walk out.
I think
the
first half should be called Recommendception.
Yeah. And you know what? The
first
first half that you record is IVM likes. इसमें second half GAYBCD जोड़ देते हैं, and we are going to mix match both the episodes.
Done.
Farhad is so open to all the ideas. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or if he's done.
Going with the flow.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come to your recommendations, Sunetro.
Okay, so I'm a fantasy freak. Like I love the worlds of high fantasy, grounded fantasy, and I'm going to just bear with me for a bit. What has happened with the influx of the what Game of Thrones did beautifully was that it made it possible for scale to happen on television. With that, what happened was these beautiful worlds, anything that required world building required budgets, and anything that required budgets was always cinematic. And now being cinematic is now possible on television. And given that, one of my recommendations right now is this show called Watchmen.
Okay.
I love
I
it.
heard about it. Yes.
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background about this show. So it's not based on, but it's a sequel to one of the best graphic novels. I mean, kill me if you want to, but for me, it is one of the best graphic novels ever written. Okay? So, Watchmen was this amazing graphic novel. And there was a movie made by Zack Snyder, which was faithful, but like didn't push boundaries.
I loved it.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
2007, 8, sometime. Beautiful movie. A lot of people didn't like it. But yeah, this show is essentially set 30 years after the book ends. Not the movie, after the book ends. And it is so beautifully crafted. Every episode is an experiment in a different kind of storytelling.
Okay.
And also the last episode, I'm not going to spoil it for too many people, but I'm just going to point out why it's important. The representation of a superhero, and I will not say what kind of representation, because that therein lies a twist.
They got the point.
The representation of the superhero. What kind of a superhero? What movies have been portraying in terms of tokenism for the longest time.
Peddling to you almost.
This episode, I give it to HBO for doing this again and again and again. They just knocked the ball out of the park. Or they ticked all the boxes and they did it with guts.
And so much noir. It was so film noir.
Exactly. And they did it so well. And that's what I love about HBO. I think I love Netflix. I love what Netflix has done, the revolution that Netflix has brought. But when it comes to writing and storytelling, I think HBO remains unparalleled. Unparalleled. So please go watch Watchmen.
Except Entourage.
I hate that show. But I love it. Okay, so the reason I'm suggesting Watchmen is because it is such an ecosystem that it will kind of creep you, draw you into. One is you should read Watchmen right after you watch this, because you will want to, because there are so many things that you will want to know more about. One. Second, the score. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. Oh my God, these are guys who mind blowing score. The music. I was listening to it while I was coming here, and again, it's like. So if anyone's heard Gone Girl, if anyone's heard The Social Network, the kind of music they've crafted, this is another genre altogether, but it's got their signature and it's beautiful. So please watch Watchmen. It's on HBO and it's on Hotstar, because Hotstar has a lot of HBO shows. But every Monday they release a new episode. This should be your new Game of Thrones, for sure.
I have to say, I was overwhelmed when I started watching Watchmen. I was a little like, oh shit, there is so many things going on. Sometimes some episodes I dozed off because there was so much going on. But then for some odd reason, I have shows where I get it, right? After a certain age, you know what's good, what's not good. I was like, no, I have to give it. I have to. Don't let go of the sun. And after the third episode, it's been so rewarding constantly.
And Regina
it's beautiful.
Regina King.
Yeah.
So there's this character called Sister Night. I want to be Sister Night for the next Halloween.
Yeah? I want to be Rorschach.
Oh my God.
Okay, we have not seen it, so we don't know what character.
Just to tell you, she's like this badass bitch. Like, oh my God, she'll kick your butt. So she wears like this leather cloak and which has a leather cape. Oh my God. And she wears like boots. And you know how much I love my shoes. So
I could just see you in that character. Very clearly.
When Sunetro was describing this person, I was looking at Sunetro. Like the boots.
Sister Night.
Except that Sister Night is all in black, and that's something. I would love to be Sister Night for the next Halloween.
Yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed Farhad and Sunetro listening to their views, I'm pretty sure you're going to love GAYBCD. New episodes come out every Tuesday.
Yeah.
I produce their show, sit on all the episodes, and I just love it. I love all the episodes.
Is it your favorite show?
ऐसा आप तो choose करने को मत बोलो यार.
But if you had to.
Farhad, I'll tell you in person.
Okay then.
Okay, we'll quickly wrap up this half. What did you recommend, Rutika?
I recommended a movie called Klaus.
Holy shit, I recommended so much. I forgot. Lost Connections.
Yes.
Johan Hari, the book.
Lost Connection. And you recommended?
Watchmen, the TV show on Hotstar.
I recommended... Okay, I forgot. I recommended Grave of the Fireflies.
And Studio Ghibli in general.
Yes, we talked about so many animated films. Yes.
And you can watch Klaus on Netflix.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We'll see you after a short, quick break.
Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also want to remind you, please do fill out our listener survey. This is a really, really important thing for us right now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/survey. We ask you a few questions about who you are, what kind of podcast you like listening to, what do you think of things going on so far. So please do fill that out. It would help us. Also would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. We have Intel, Cambly, and Storytel. This week on Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by writer Daksh Tyagi. Daksh talks about his debut book, A Nation of Idiots. He discusses what goes into writing satire, which is critical of the people and governments in power, and what are the legal hassles in doing so. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik is joined by brand builder and author Siddharth Banerjee and corporate mythologist and author Eka Chaturvedi Banerjee. Together, they talk about the art of hyperlearning and discuss their journey on setting up 52 red pills. On Edges and Sledges, Varun, Ashwin and DJ talk about India's T20 series win over the West Indies and the first ODI in Chennai. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about motivation, grit, self-discipline and about finding purpose in the everyday things that you do. On Tapri Tales, Madhuri narrates a story titled Reshma's Purse. Tune in to hear the backstories of the little things that reside inside a woman's purse. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet is joined by actor Amol Parashar and content strategist at TVF, Akansh Kaur. They talk about the risks and rewards they encountered after quitting their traditional jobs for digital media entertainment. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Welcome, guys, to the second half of IVM Likes. With me, I have Sunetro, Farhad, and Rutika.
And Madhuri is hosting the second half as she hosted the first half.
Thank you, Rutika, for telling
introduce herself only.
Yeah, sometimes, I've noticed that. मैं बताती नहीं हूँ लोगों को कि who am I. ठीक है. So in this half, we are going to talk about queer art. So me and Rutika, we were discussing this in the office. Is there any show or film that we watched and we thought there's a queer side to our personality or we are feeling certain things
that appeal to it.
To us. Nobody could connect with us. People were like, हाँ देखा है हमने ये films, but हमको कुछ feel नहीं हुआ. And we're like, how?
Because dead inside.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's this theory by this person called Eve Kosofsky-Sedgwick. I really like what she calls homosocial desire. So she's not calling it homosexual per se. But the kind of friendships we had, female, male bonding. So there's always the presence of homosociality, which then gives space to homosexual relations or wherever you want to.
That's why I have so many bros. Like I have so many bromances in my life.
I don't like. So mera life kya hai? Like I have zero bros.
No, as in I hardly being an out and proud queer man. I hardly have any gay friends. Actually, all my bros are straight, and I like we are homosocial together.
Yeah, so she reads into it like this: कि this homosocial bonds, they always try to prove themselves by having a girl in the center where they say कि नहीं हम लोग heterosexual है, but this friendship is very special to us. Like Jaiviru, but बीच में एक बसंती चाहिए. So she has different readings of these.
That's a very interesting theory.
You want to think of this? I suddenly imagine Viru going down on Jai for some reason.
Could have happened.
Yeah, totally.
Very easy.
Hey, why not?
Yeah,
I think Dharmendra was a good-looking man.
He was so handsome.
Yeah, so beautiful.
He used to be.
For a very
of course.
For a very short period of time.
Obviously, age has caught up and all. I think he's still, for his age, he's a good-looking man, Dharmendra, for his age. I'm not going to be ageist here.
I sometimes don't get it. No, I don't. Like, okay, see, like, I don't get how Hrithik Roshan is so good. I get it how he's good looking to other people.
Yeah, I don't find him good looking.
I find his features, I guess it's my personal perception of beauty, obviously, because it's in the eye of the beholder. But like sometimes my parents' times, I think about Rajesh Khanna. I was like, how the did they think this guy was the most handsome?
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly. Oh my god, my mother used to be crazy about him. She's told me like stories where she wanted to run away to like run away to Mumbai and like meet him and shit like that. And I'm like, for that guy, really?
Like, and Devanand, Rajendra Kumar, and I'm like, God, these guys are so weird looking.
But like, you know who I like from that era who I find good looking? I mean, found good looking?
Sure.
Shashi Kapoor.
Oh, can I tell you?
Cute.
I think I said this before.
So cute.
My mom's all-time favorite person is Shashi Kapoor. Okay,
yes,
like actor.
Yeah.
And when you open her cupboard, okay, there's a picture of Shashi Kapoor And then there's a picture of Hrithik Roshan in a jali wala banyan from Ek Pal Ka Jeena, and then there's a passport size photograph of me.
Are you serious? That's so cute.
No, it's very confusing.
That is so
it's a picture of her
cute.
with Shashi Kapoor,
Yeah.
Hrithik Roshan in jali wala banyan, and my worst passport size
Oh my
photograph.
God.
All side by side.
What does it mean though?
I don't know.
Like there's
Well, my
something
mom's
weirdly
sexuality
Freudian.
wears it. Yeah,
There's
it's a-
something very Freudian
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
I think when you're talking about your mother, that generation, so there's a different way of expressing desire. It wasn't the way we express desire today.
Was it
So-
about the characters rather than the
No,
people?
I think it's
I
also
think it
not
had
just
to
characters, but
also-
desire. Like desire for a woman. Like my mother would also say that when I saw your father, I immediately thought ये तो आमिर खान जैसा है. मैंने बोला ये कहाँ से दिमाग में
हाँ,
आया?
yeah.
So because he had this hair जो ऐसे गले पे ऐसे
हाँ,
बड़े-बड़े
yeah,
थे,
yeah.
तो कि आमिर खान जैसा है, and they had liking those characters because they were not allowed to talk to guys or look at them that way or
Can
express
I be
their
honest
desire.
with you? If I often ask my mother, I'm like, what attracted you towards my father? And I don't
And you
think
say
she has
that
an
with-
answer.
One second. You're saying that with so much of a grimace on your
You
face.
might want to show me a picture of your dad after this.
Yeah, your dad.
No,
if he-
I am
if
going
he
to
was
paint
young.
a picture for you. If Johnny Lever dated Shatrughan Sinha and they were partners and they had a baby, that would be my dad. That's how he looked.
I mean, again, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly. So I think he just was very impressive. He was very charming and all of that. But
You know, once you say Johnny Lever, I lost it, Johnny Lever. You can now have a safe saying, oh, but he was impressive.
See,
Okay,
this is what I'm saying, right? Like my mother told me she had a crush on Dharmendra, and I maybe because I haven't really seen much of
Yeah.
his pictures when he used to be. I was like, why?
But I tell you what, I also
I
feel
can
it has
see.
nothing to do with the person. It has the
A lot to
time
do
they
with-
lived
yeah.
in.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
no
for
time.
them, the idea of like, oh my god, this movie's coming out. How do we get tickets? Getting tickets in black,
Yeah.
going to see this movie. I'll tell you a very funny story. Actually, my dad told me once that whenever Shashi Kapoor would come on screen, my mom would be holding his hands when they're dating, and my mom would squeeze my dad's hand every time Shashi Kapoor came on screen. So to with her, my dad started pressing her hand every time some other actor like Shashi Kapoor would come on screen to give her like I'm a homo vibe. Like Vinod Khanna, because Shashi Kapoor did a lot of movies with Amitabh Bachchan,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
other.
yeah.
So he would like just squeeze my mom's hand when the other co-star came on.
Yeah.
But
I'm so happy that the conversation went this way because this is also to tell you that my introduction to cinema, movies and all that began with Bollywood. So Bollywood mein koi example tha hi nahi that you understand what is queer.
Yeah.
My first movie that I remember had touched me was Margarita with a Straw. And that made, because that was the only
Yeah,
exposure
and-
I
yeah,
had
yeah,
then.
yeah.
So
I love that movie so much.
I loved it,
But the
yes.
last 30 seconds of the movie just ruin it so
Yeah.
badly. And literally, it's like they could have just let it go. Can
Yeah,
I
I
give a
know.
spoiler?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
I know.
a
I mean,
it's
You're
a
not
very
recommending
good
it.
movie.
Yeah.
If you've not watched it by
I
now,
love that movie because first of all, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite movies, I think we discussed it before, is The Sessions
Yes.
with Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Where she actually is a person who has sex with different disabled people to study how they are like, how their response to sex, whatever. And then I thought Margarita with a Straw and someone trying to tackle that with in Bollywood. Plus Revati is one of my favorite actresses since ever. And the movie is amazing and I'm like, wow, I'm so happy. There's boobs, there's everything. It's very un-Bollywood. And then the last scene is she wheelchairs herself into a restaurant and I'm like, oh, she's happy on a date and all of that. She's having some margarita with a straw. And then the movie, the camera pans and she's actually sitting in front of a mirror and looking at herself. Like they literally tried to show that she finally accepted who she is by going on a date in front of a mirror. I thought that was one of the worst. It's like Dil Dhadakne though, you know, such a good movie, but suddenly the last 10 minutes is like, what the is this? Like, I don't know why Bollywood does that.
I think sometimes your age matters when you're watching the film. So when I watched it at that age, I think that message was very important
to me.
to me.
It was very empowering. It was a very, very
Go to
empowering film.
restaurants and
Beautiful.
watch yourself eat in the
No,
reflection.
not that way. I think it was very metaphorical. in that
was very
sense.
obvious.
It was a metaphor
sure.
that was like in your face. It's like reflection.
I just feel like, again, since you're because I felt like now Bollywood is starting to touch good LGBTQ
Yes, that's what
tones.
we were coming to. Yeah.
My first, obviously, was Aligarh. The first
I
time
love
ever
Aligarh.
felt in my entire life, and it's maybe 30 years too late.
Yeah.
Because for me, if you say what was the first time I felt like I started getting confused when I was a kid. I remember seeing Mahmood dressed as a woman in a lot of movies. But then obviously back then they are eunuchs and they are like hijras, and so that's how they were portrayed in movies, you know.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I really felt, after all these years, there were like some attempts, like My Brother Nikhil.
Yeah.
and-
Which I feel is, was a good
But it was a good-
effort.
yeah.
Yeah,
it
but
was a good
again,
effort
then-
at its time.
Focus
See,
too much
my thing is either the story is great or technically is great, but the story is okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm saying
Holistically.
it's starting to come together.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
They are going there, and I felt for the first time, I felt that was when I saw Aligarh. I was like
yeah.
devastated, and it was such a sad movie.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
sorry I saw
also,
it alone.
I have to call out this one film which was way ahead of its times, Honeymoon Travels.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It was such a delightful film, and the homosexuality was so matter of fact.
What
Yeah.
was his name?
He was
the son of a trillionaire, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
restaurateur who married.
And you know what I felt when I
Is-
saw Honeymoon was like, first of all, I loved it because they're Parsi, the protagonist,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
remember,
yeah,
it's in a
yeah.
Parsi called that. But I forgot his name.
Rutika is looking that up. Is this the film where the song got famous?
Yeah,
Kahani.
Yeah, but the guy who
Oh, okay, okay.
the guy who decided to play Jas Chiranjeevi, some
No. He married Priya
Sachdeva.
yeah.
Which one? Probably Vikram.
Vikram Chatwal.
Yeah.
Vikram Chatwal.
Bunty.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal, right? I was so surprised that leave the movie alone. I was like, first of all, yeah, okay, there's a gay angle in the movie.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's played by Vikram Chatwal, who's the son of a trillionaire
Yes,
hotelier.
exactly.
So I started thinking, wait, in real life, this guy's a trillionaire. He's trying to make it in Bollywood still in
Yeah.
some way. And he decided to choose a gay character. I was like, okay, well done. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
Like,
yeah.
okay, acha ho gaya,
No,
acha
I
ho
was
gaya.
so impressed by the
Yeah.
film. Like,
Yeah.
and that was one of those. So I love these little bits where Bollywood has tried something different rather than Dostana.
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
Can
oh my
we
God.
not
I
go to
was-
Karan?
Like,
Hey,
really.
but I have to say, first of all, I feel like when Dostana had come out, NDTV and all, you had all your, I'm going to say the names, but Harish Iyer on TV. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
finally a movie about me. And I was like,
But it
why?
wasn't. That's
it
the thing.
wasn't. I was so annoyed throughout the movie. I love the songs for some odd reason. But like, even in the end, when it actually comes to kissing, they don't show them kissing. And I'm like, what a defeated fucking
Like,
movie.
come on.
But then I felt like Kapoor and Sons came along, and I felt like,
I
Okay,
love
there's
that.
hope. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
and
I
that
like
also was a
that.
Karan Johar production.
Yes,
So
I
I was
agree.
like, okay, that's the one honest attempt he made.
Yeah.
Even like, I've always shared some sort of animosity towards Karan
Yeah.
Johar and his work, at least. But I actually like his new soup ad. Have you seen the
Yeah,
new
it's
soup
very
ad?
homoerotic.
It's not
It's
about homoerotic.
very-
I like that now.
What
he's
is
sitting-
it?
So
It's-
basically, he's sitting late in the night. His doorbell rings. It's raining outside. There's a wet man. Like there's a man who's drenched in his suit,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Soup hai kya?" And then Karan Johar makes him soup. That's it. It's a very stupid ad, but
But
I like
like-
that he's finding out these subtle ways to come out. He's still not officially come out,
But it's very,
it's
like I
done-
was saying,
it's done cute.
It's homoerotic. It's superbly homoerotic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, cause he's like, aur chahiye, ye, wo. Like, it's
Oh,
like,
that's
it's
Thodi
almost
sassy
a...
auntie. वो थोड़ा उसमें पंजाबी है.
Exactly.
He's basically in all his movies. If you see Kiran Kher, that's Karan Johar.
Yeah.
It's like, how in a Rorschach
Yeah.
test, when you see
Yeah,
something, you
100%.
suddenly see something in the Rorschach test, like that Karan Johar. I think subconsciously, either he ends up being Kajol. Whenever I see a Karan Johar movie,
Like Gamla.
no, kuch hota hai. I think like actually
No,
Karan Johar
really?
thought that Kajol is him. Like, he liked a boy, but the boy liked someone
Like
else.
someone else, yeah,
And then
yeah.
the boy came and professed his love to her, but
Yeah.
actually he was professing to someone else. Like, I always feel like Karan Johar has that problem
yeah.
putting it on paper.
I wish Karan Johar listens to this episode.
No,
Yeah.
who told me recently?
Let's
Do you think
tweet it to
Karan
him.
Johar cares enough about your opinion that he would like...
Cyrus.
Someone said Cyrus said that, right?
By the
I
way,
think-
I have to say this though. So there was a Bengali director, one of my favorite directors of all times, Ritu Parno Ghosh.
Yeah, Ritu Parno Ghosh.
So when I was in, I used to be a journalist. I had the privilege of interviewing him before one of his releases, and he was so beautifully forthcoming. I don't know what happened, because he was known to be very uptight about things he would say at that point of time, and then he started coming out, and he was far more, this is the time when he was physically in transition, but he wouldn't talk about it. But somehow I think he sensed that I was gay, and there was no conversation about our sexuality, but he really opened up, and I was talking to him about who his muses are and this and that. And coming from that, the thing about Karan Johar thinks Kajol is him, he so clearly said, my muses are my story. The women in my film are actually extensions of me.
Wow.
And I at that moment, his filmography made sense to me.
Yeah.
Every single, because all his women have desires, and so he empowers them, and then he takes the power away from them, and then he empowers them again throughout, like all his films.
Yeah.
He and I could understand where this man was,
I've definitely
his
seen
journey.
many of
Dil
his
Hai
movies.
Mushkil mein bhi he said the same thing, that
Yeah.
it is in a way.
I
a
actually,
story.
okay, I feel like in Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, the track between Aishwarya and Ranbir is one of the most beautiful portrayals of unconventional love, so to say, in Hindi cinema. Like, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I had enjoyed the
loved
film.
it.
I wouldn't lie. उसके बाद मेरा readings बदल गया. Eventually, you go back to films and you realize that you have different opinions. But I liked it.
I have no. You lost me at Air Dilemma. Because my
the film has
roommate,
great music.
my roommate
yes.
is who's a total. Even I'm into Bollywood. Yeah, but I stick to the. I'll watch a Happy New Year. Let me tell you. Let me start off right out of the, I'll watch a Happy New Year, and I'll thoroughly enjoy it because I know the camp that movie comes from. This is from a Farah Khan production. It's supposed to be masala 70s Rajesh Khanna times type Bollywood, rebirth and like whatever. But now you also have movies like Newton. And you have,
of course. But
you know what
see,
I mean?
that's the thing. That's
Parallel
not
cinema.
Bollywood.
No, it's
That's not
That's the
Bollywood.
thing. There's
It's not even
parallel cinema
parallel.
has always existed.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Always,
Until, like if you go back to there was Earth, if you remember,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Smita
of course.
Patil.
Yes.
Fire. We talked about Fire.
Fire.
How that movie had
I think we're
made
going
a
to
great impact.
really get back to that.
Yeah.
But because you mentioned parallel cinema, my first introduction to, I just realized, was I Am.
Okay,
On
on
Air.
air.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, I think, it released in 2010.
The Rahul Bose track?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, for me it was hard hitting because I didn't realize that the police can play
Yeah.
such a, I mean, they can be so terrorizing.
Diabolical.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, and I didn't know that this happened, but when I
Yeah.
saw it, I was really disturbed by what I saw. And I remember calling a friend and crying about it later, thinking that, oh God, this is the level at which you're, even in a city like Bombay,
Yeah.
these things can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So,
It's true. And yeah.
So that was...
Do you have any, like this was our introduction
Yeah.
to queer
Yeah.
art, and then we realized,
We ended
of
up
course,
talking about
Netflix.
Bollywood and queer
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, actually, because for us it started like that, but
Yeah.
then with Netflix and with
Yeah.
for me-
Netflix, though, mera to HBO, first of all.
Yeah, HBO
Yeah,
first.
I feel like the thing is we can't not start a queer as folk. I
Queer
feel
as
like
folk.
that was the big
Seminal.
like every gay
And
boy who had access to like a DVD
Torrent
store
and DVD?
yeah, no, this is I remember.
Like I watched it through torrent.
Oh, I had to
because
go to my video library, and luckily in
मैं रांची में था यार.
that's the
that
thing.
time.
In Pune, there were multiple video libraries
Yeah.
back then, and once CDs, like
Yeah.
VCDs, alone DVDs also. VCDs started coming out. There used to be a place called Videotron, and he was one of those guys. If you told him, "Can you get this show for me?" he would get it for you.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to ask him because I had heard of Queer as Folk. But he got it for me. And back then, if you had to get a DVD set, like one season would be like
Some 8,
10
9
to 12
yeah,
CDs, you know, like because each CD, like one CD has 2 episodes maybe. So I just want to straight off Queer
Yeah,
as
yeah,
Folk was a big,
completely, definitely.
but it also warped my sense of like, because I enjoy, we all loved it, it was a good jerk off. Like,
Yes.
it was a good
Big
show to
time.
because it had the
So it had a lot
sexualized
of
side of gay
gay
life, you know.
Yeah, it was. But then again, There was
They tried to touch real themes.
also, and
but-
there was ample representation in terms of types of gay men. Like there was a man who was very, very proudly femme. There was a lesbian couple. There was a very the kind of man you would ostensibly call the straight gay guy.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like now Showtime, who
Yes,
produced,
yeah.
is on the map. But I feel like Queer as Folk might have put it. It was the first.
Yes.
Like Showtime. I remember Showtime.
yeah.
If you all have watched Dexter and all of those
yeah.
are Showtime.
So Queer
But
as Folk was
Showtime was like probably what Queer as Folk is what probably
put it on the map.
Showtime on the map back then.
100%.
Yeah, you know what I've started appreciating after watching Queer as Folk, Pose, and all those,
Yeah.
which tell you that this is queer content.
Yeah.
There are so many other series which are
Sure.
not straight on your face queer,
Yes.
but there are such nuances that
There you
this
go.
is queer
Yeah.
sensitive content.
United
Like,
States of Tara.
Tara. Absolutely.
For me, it was end of the f***ing world. You see
Yes,
this girl,
yeah,
such a
yeah,
sweet
yeah,
and this
yeah.
badass girl.
Yeah.
And when she's talking to this guy's father, and he
Yeah.
says, "Thank God he's brought a girl home." I thought कि इसको
Yeah.
तो sex में interest ही
Yeah.
नहीं है. So she said,
Yeah.
"We are dealing with a wide spectrum today. He can
Yeah.
be asexual. He
Yeah.
can be gay. He likes
Sure.
men. Blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah."
yeah, yeah.
And you realize, wow, if
And
But that's the
even
thing.
Shira,
Yeah.
the Princess of
Yes,
Power.
there are trans characters.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And Alika just pointed out today that Powerpuff Girls has a character which is like a villain.
Him. Yeah.
Who is
Him
trans.
is like non-binary.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not binary. Yeah.
Also, speaking about Shira and trans characters, there's this show called Steven Universe, which has a trans character, a non-binary character, which is now going to be voiced by a RuPaul's Drag Race
God.
winner. Can I have to mention RuPaul's Drag Race for all our grey brethren and straight brethren, because genuinely, if you want to have a joy of a time, just to tell you guys what it is America's Next Top Model meets Project Runway meets America's Got Talent, but in a parody format
oh
Wow.
with drag queens.
wow,
That's
And it's
fascinating.
insane because the kind of fashion you see, the kind of talent you see, because they'll throw anything at the contestants. There can be a comedy challenge, there can be a musical challenge, there'll be make like a drag on a dime, for example. You have to make these avant-garde costumes from scratch challenge, and the creativity is so mind-boggling. And why I love the show is what it has done for the idea of breaking the idea of masculinity. The idea that today drag is mainstream. A man in a wig, a man in stilettos is so commonplace in US and in a lot of other places because of this show. I think the queer community owes a lot to that show.
I have been hated for never getting on the RuPaul wagon.
Yeah.
With Sunetro, I have a confession to make. As of today, I finished the first season of RuPaul.
First season.
I know.
Nice
Every time we
season.
started the fifth one, All
Fourth,
Stars,
at
and
least
all of
fourth.
that. No,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I can't do that. I actually
Yeah.
started watching, and trust me. You said, they make avant-garde dresses. But
Yeah.
they're actually all trashy.
But that's the thing. The fashion, the avant-garde stuff started only from the fifth season onwards.
But here's the deal. I'm going to stick through it this time because I just feel like this immense pressure to enjoy this show.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I know where I was wrong. I was wrong because I don't know if I'm a transphobe, like a latent transphobe, but or a drag phobe. But I just felt like this is not my humor. These catty men dressed as women constantly clawing at each other and all of that. So this time I put that bias aside and I actually watched it, and I realized a lot of times I found men.
You were the worst season.
One second. I found there are a lot of moments where men said that, hey, I don't like a lot. It's a misconception that we do drag because we want to be women. I'm just a man who likes to dress up as a woman.
Yeah.
And I heard that a couple of times and I actually thought, okay, this time I'm going to watch this show as men who just like to dress up as women and do this. I'm not going to do this whole, gay guy is trying to be hissy and, and it's so, I find it, because for me, in the reality TV format, I felt like one of the nicest shows was Project Runway.
Yeah.
Only because it's the only
It doesn't
reality
have
show
that drama,
where it's minus the where they come from, are they poor, do they have like any
Their
sort of,
backstories.
none of it.
They
which-
have the backstories, but
No,
it's
they
not.
don't-
They
they
do.
don't
They do.
glorify- unless a
come
person
on.
breaks
Mondo
down-
Guerrero, come on. They've shown HIV positive people.
Sure.
They
Sure.
have backstories, but it's
Wait,
not
you're
like
talking about
American
RuPaul's
Idol.
or Project?
No, I'm talking
Project
about Project Runway.
Yeah.
But it's not manipulative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Which
Not
like,
at all. And I felt like even the
American
price-
Idol does and Indian Idol does. Like, oh my god, like itni gareeb, this, that. I just hate that. That's manipulative.
Yeah.
It's not evocative.
Even I felt like the prizes are genuine. The way to like vet out who actually wins is genuinely done well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like based on. And here I watch RuPaul's where they put in their work, they do their hard work, but in the end, it's decided based on how well can someone lip sync to a song.
No, I mean,
I find all of that kind of like a little.
That's based. I mean,
I asked you to prepare "Sexy Bitch" by Britney Spears. Can you? Who
But that's how you get
Don't it up.
eliminated.
And that's what I'm saying. You
But
know,
that's
these are
the
people's
thing.
hopes and dreams being crushed because they
Yeah,
couldn't
but
sing
lip
along to a song.
syncing. But you do realize
You want to
that
fight,
lip
bitch?
syncs-
You want to fight, bitch?
Yeah,
You take
man.
it.
Lip syncing is one of the most
I get
important
it.
things that drag queens do.
That I learned when I watched Pose, actually. I watched Pose and I then, because I always knew voguing was a thing, but I did not know lip sync was such a big part of drag culture and gay culture.
that's how they earn their bread and butter.
Again, so this time I'm going to watch the show RuPaul's, even if I don't enjoy it.
Start from season 4.
Dude, it took me like a day to finish the first season.
Yeah.
so-
And when you finish that, I'm very sure we are recording one episode on GAYBCD with queer art, queer content.
Yes,
and starting
of
with
course.
RuPaul's.
Yes, we'll start with RuPaul.
Yes, I'll
No,
remind you
no,
that.
this is like my friend who recently offered to pay for a gym membership, and it's a great offer, right? But the pressure to go to the gym then because someone else has paid for it, this is like that. I don't think you all see it, but shut the
Currently, this is what my mother is trying to do, where she's like, you learn the two-wheeler and I will buy you a bike. And I'm like, okay then. Now you...
I feel like, quickly, but speaking of queer culture, I think what's happening nowadays is shows and movies are, I feel like we've moved from the show being about a person's sexuality to the show being about a problem, the problems a person has, and they also happen to be queer.
Absolutely.
Which
I
is
really
why
like that
we
idea.
briefly discussed it, but I think Please Like Me. This is my second viewing.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
fantastic.
I saw it 4 years ago. It ended around 4 years ago. And back then, I don't know why. I thought, okay, great show. But for some odd reason, it stuck with me, and I started rewatching it last month. And this time, I think it's one of the best shows I've watched. And that rarely happens, where in a second viewing, you think, how did I not love this
As much.
copiously, as much as I love it now?
I agree.
Because the show is less about his
Someone being a
queerness, but
certain-
it's so much about mental health. Like,
Yes.
the more, I won't give any spoilers. I know Madhuri is not very far along, but it's, and there are lots of
But,
spoilers.
yeah,
But it's honestly, if you're like listening to this and you want to watch a great introduction to the, what's the word, dichotomy, or like you want to see a proper blueprint of gay life, I feel like Please Like Me gets pretty close.
You know,
and mental health
one
combined.
film, and again, one of the contentions I've had a lot of times with a large part of the queer cinema that we are exposed to is obviously it's important to show history, it's important to show reality, but not a lot of intimacy is sort of represented. And one film that I hold so close to my heart is this film called Weekend.
Yeah.
It is one of the best love stories in my opinion. It is basically about a one-night stand and these two guys who just discover each other
It's beautiful.
throughout the next one day.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's so beautiful in its simplicity that it disarms you.
Yeah.
There are moments of catharsis. There are moments of... it's just one of the best love stories ever made. Like, I have
absolutely
to say that.
love that
Is
movie,
it on
yeah.
Netflix?
It
might be a little tough to find it. Yeah.
I think...
But can we talk about
Let's try to
streaming?
get it.
Torrent or like
Torrent
F
kar lo.
movies?
Kritika will try to get it.
It is
So,
beautiful.
on that recommendation, we are going to wrap this round.
Aww.
No, we'll have you back again.
Okay,
and,
then.
We'll have different IVM staffers to sit with you and
Yes.
maybe we discuss animation and whatever is your favorite
Oh,
genre.
yes.
Sure.
So, it was really nice to have both of you. Now tell
Loved
us,
it.
where can we find you, Farhad?
Farhad Karkaria. Just look up on Instagram, Facebook. I don't know. I don't give my handle ever because I don't know my handle. I just say Farhad.
I know it because I tag it all the time. @ the QR8R.
Yeah, but that's a little complex. Just I think if you even
if
type
you write
my
Farhad
name.
Karkaria,
Yeah,
it will
Farhad
be there.
Karkaria.
What about you, Sunetro?
Find me on Instagram, glitterbugged. Bugged.
Great. What about
Yeah.
you, Rutika? Where can we find you?
You can only find me on Instagram. It's that girl inside the library.
All right.
And now quickly sign off saying your dad is a very handsome man.
Yeah.
Say it.
I'm not gonna say it.
Oh my god.
You can find me on Instagram at madad, MAD_AD13. And also,
Arre baap
very
re.
quickly, I would like to pitch this in. I have a new show on IVM. It's called
Yes.
Tapri Tales.
Cannot
I'm telling.
wait.
Yes. Wow. That really rhymed.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this next time. So do check that out. And also tune in to GAYBCD. New episodes come out every Tuesday.
Tapri Tales के episodes कब आ रहे हैं?
Tapri Tales first episode is already out and new episode comes out every Thursday.
Sorry, what's it about? Just give me quick.
हिंदी स्टोरी टेलिंग पॉडकास्ट उसमें मैं कहानियां सुनाती हूँ. हर कहानी 10 to 12 minutes की है.
Beautiful.
And,
Is that why you said GAYBCD is not your favorite show?
no?
You
Oh my
bet.
She
god.
caught you.
Farhad, let's take this outside.
Yeah. Sure. Let's go to the parking lot.
Yes,
bitch.
let's go to Tapri.
Yeah, got it. I
Tapri
feel like
chal
if we both actually fought, I can usually tell if I'll beat someone. But
Yeah.
I feel like you might be a strong contender.
Yes, I feel.
Okay.
Already. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. On that note, see you next week.
Bye.
घड़ी की टिक टिक के बीच अब वक्त हो चुका है टपरी पे मिलने का. चाय या कॉफी के साथ टपरी टेल्स सुनने का. सोचिए, अगर आपकी मम्मी, अक्का, दादी, नानी, जीजी, आजी भी आपके साथ इस चाय की टपरी पे एक चुस्की लेने आ जाए तो कैसी बातें होंगी? उनकी कहानियाँ कितनी नई या पुरानी होगी? एक्चुअली ना, टपरी पे पहली बार ये उनकी जुबानी होगी. तो मिलिए इन नए किरदारों से हर गुरुवार टपरी टेल्स पर. चाय की प्याली, एक नई कहानी with Madhuri Advani on IVM Podcast app, website or wherever you get your podcast from.
This is the amazing story of something awesome. Once Chuck decided to start a podcast, and so he did. The end. Okay, that was a crappy story. But I've got some really cool stories over at my new show, The Origin of Things. On this podcast, I look at the stories of how brands came into being and sometimes evolved out of quite unexpected circumstances. And to make it really fun, I reveal the name of the brand and sometimes a category only at the very end. The show is 5 to 7 minutes per episode and perfect for trivia junkies and brand nerds, especially those with short attention spans. New episodes out every Wednesday on IVM Podcast app or website or any podcast app or site that you happen to prefer. End of story, they lived happily ever after.